bomb exploded on a plot of farmland in Elberton, Georgia. The explosion destroyed a large monument that stood on the property for over 40 years. It was 4 monolithic slabs of granite that weighed over 230,000 pounds that contained a set of rules for a more peaceful and orderly society. The identity of the builder was a mystery for 40 years. Today, you'll learn who he is. Why did he keep his identity secret? Probably for the same reasons the Georgia Guidestones were destroyed. Because according to the Guidestones, the way to a perfect society was through genetic and racial purity, massive global depopulation, a new world order. In other words, the end of life as we know it. In June 1979, a well-dressed man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian approached Joe Finley, president of Elberton Granite Finishing Company. R.C. Christensen wanted to build a monument to rival the magnitude of the Stonehenge. R.C. Christensen had visited the Stonehenge and felt that it lacked something, some kind of message. But what kind of message? There's no more famous message than the Ten Commandments. And religious or not, the Ten Commandments have rules that we should all follow. Do not kill, do not steal, but those are rules for individuals. R.C. Christian was thinking bigger. And what bigger than the word of God given to Moses? R.C. Christensen said he represented a small group of loyal Americans who had spent the past 20 years planning this great inspiring monument. He brought with him a scale model with very detailed specifications. The monument would consist of 4 stones arranged in the shape of a cross capped with the center stone. They'll stand 16 feet tall and display a message in the 8 most spoken languages of the world, along with 4 dead languages.
The 4 standing stones should outline the migration of the moon over a year. A small viewing hole in the middle support stone will need to always show the North Star. A slot at the top of the middle support stone should align with a winter and summer solstice's rising sun and indicate noon at the equinoxes. A hole should be drilled through the capstone that focuses the sun on the center column at noon to indicate the day of the year.
R.C. Christian had one final request, and it caused the people to kind of question the reason for these Guidestones. He asked that the stones should be made to withstand the end of the world. Finley sent R.C. Christensen to Granite City Bank and told him to ask for Wyatt Martin, the bank manager. Wyatt Martin and Christensen came to an agreement. Martin would help set up the bank account where the funds could be transferred to pay for the Guidestones. On one condition, R.C. Christensen could not set up the bank account under a fake name. R.C. Christensen understood and agreed to give Martin his real name, under one condition: never tell anybody who he really was or who he represented. So Wyatt Martin agreed and would be the only man to ever know R.C. Christensen's true identity. Despite being hounded for years about this, Martin kept his word to his dying day. So R.C. Christensen transferred the funds, purchased 5 acres of land in Elberton County. The construction finally began. And just like that, R.C. Christian was gone, and nobody would ever see him again. In August of 1980, just a few months after the Guidestones went up, Club of Rome said it's necessary that the U.S. cut its population by 2/3 within the next 50 years. He didn't mention how they were going to do this, but some people have their theories.
But it does mean if you want the same standard of living, we're going to have to cut our population in the U.S., for example, certainly to 1/4. But we have so many wasteful things, that won't be hard.
You say it won't be hard to cut the population by 1/4?
It just takes 1 generation to get a population down if nobody bred for 1 generation.
You've probably heard of the Bilderberg Group. It's a handful of mega companies. They use the government to work for these media companies on censoring any ideas that goes against the group's wishes. Guess who writes the policy for the Bilderberg Group? The Club of Rome. R.C. Christian wrote a book entitled Common Sense Renewed, which he sent to each member of Congress in 1986. Among a myriad of statements, Christian wrote this:
Responsible parenting will consider both genetic and environmental factors. We must seek to produce healthy children and then to mold their characters and to develop their potentials as socially worthwhile adults who will in turn carry the process indefinitely into the future. We have a grave duty to use all available knowledge in perfecting the forces which guide our procreation. It is within our power to leave behind us a new generation of humanity, slightly superior to our own in intellectual, physical, and social capabilities. It is vitally important that each national government have a considered population policy. The need is urgent and should take precedence over other problems, even those of national defense.
Allowing only worthy people to reproduce to create a generation of genetically superior children, that's eugenics, and that's a war crime. Guidestones are instructions on how to rebuild society after a cataclysmic event. Guide 1 was population control. Guide number 2 was breeding a superior society.
Modern civilization had reduced the operation of natural selection by saving more weak lives and enabling them to reproduce, resulting in a downward trend in genetic quality.
Theories about the identity of R.C. Christian. Businessman and founder of CNN, Ted Turner, was the leading candidate. He has the money, the foundation. He specifically said that the greatest threat to civilization was overpopulation. Can't be him. Is Ted Turner still alive? See, Wyatt Martin, the bank owner, who knew Christian's true identity, kept Christian's identity a secret. Christian and Martin exchanged letters at least twice a year until Christian's death. The letters were never sent from the same place, nor were the funds transferred from the same place. Martin passed away in December 2021, but he did drop some clues along the way. Martin mentioned that Christian had a daughter. He was in basic training in Georgia before he was deployed to World War II. Martin said that Christian was from the Midwest. At some point, he worked in construction. But what sealed the deal was when a documentary film crew was filming Dark Clouds over Elberton, Wyatt Martin had recently suffered a stroke and was pretty bad health. The crew pressured him to see the letters. Martin reluctant, but he ended up giving in. He was careful to hide the postmarks on the envelope, and he was showing to the camera. The cameraman was able to grab a close-up shot of the envelope in the box, which had a return address on it. And I know what you're going to say, that was dirty. Yes, it was, I agree. It doesn't change the fact that we have the information now. So let's use the information we have and track down the address. The letters came from Dr. Herbert Henze Christen, a surgeon from Fort Dodge, Iowa. Christen was an old German form for the name Christian. Christian died in 2005. Now, according to Christian's obituary, he served in World War II. He was a conservationist who loved nature, who was very involved in environmental and world population issues. Kirsten also worked in construction. He had 2 sons, 2 daughters. The guy who wants to limit the population does have a lot of kids, doesn't he? Uniting all the world under one single language and rectifying all disagreements in a world court, that's the key to creating a new world order.